This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN.Network. And today we're at the Sprott Natural Resources Symposium 2019 in Vancouver, BC. With me right now is Trevor Raymond from the World Platinum Investment Council. They are a private company, and today we're going to be talking about platinum. So Trevor, welcome to this Wall Street View.
Hi Robert, excellent to be with you, and thanks very much for the interest.
It's great to have you on. So for our audience, let's start off first with what the World Platinum Investment Council does, and then we'll go from there.
Sure, Robert, the World Platinum Investment Council was set up by the 6 leading platinum producers in South Africa in 2014, and our role is fairly simple. We try to make sure that we give enough information for investors to make more informed investment decisions, and if investors do want to own platinum, we work with financial partners to try and issue more platinum products, be that bullion coins from something like the Royal Mint in London or another platinum-backed ETF. So those are the two sort of functions that we have.
So we actually had you on last year at the same conference at this time. So what's been going on in platinum since July 2018?
Interesting question. It's really been quite a year. So what we did see in the first quarter of this year is that investors took a huge increase in positions in the platinum ETFs. There was about 690,000 ounces of buying in the first quarter, and that we hadn't seen for about 4 years. And what we think is that the investors that did purchase, that are very well informed, know the space really well, are seeing what we're seeing, and that's 3 big reasons for demand growth coming up. So we think those investors took those positions based on the expectation of significant demand growth over the next 3 years.
So let's hear some of those reasons. What are the 3, I think it was 3 reasons you said, for demand growth?
Okay, so the primary reason is that we know about Dieselgate that happened in 2015, and we know that the portion of diesel vehicles on European roads has dropped from about 30%, from 50% to about 30%. And what we see happening right now is from September this year, all diesel cars sold will be extremely clean as tested on the road. And we think that percentage is being overestimated by the market, so we think there'll be a stronger percentage of diesels on European roads, which is good for platinum demand. Secondly, we think the fuel cell electric vehicle is getting recognition that it'll be part of the future mix, and particularly heavy-duty trucks that use fuel cells. You just can't make a battery truck, but you can make a fuel cell one. And then the third reason is you might have noticed the other precious metal, palladium, has had its eighth consecutive deficit, and the price is much higher than platinum. And we think platinum it's a one-to-one substitution. So we see a lot of platinum going back into gasoline cars, and that's the other big demand driver in the next 3 years.
So you alluded to my next question a little bit already. And for those who may not know, what are some of the use cases or the utility for platinum?
Right. So I mean, simply put, platinum's an incredibly precious metal. It's just as precious as gold is, all its attributes, all its physical attributes. The only reason platinum hasn't been around like gold for 3,000 years is it's got a very high melting point, and they couldn't melt it. So it's a precious metal, and it's certainly tracking gold in terms of its precious value. It does a lot of good things in industrial applications, so cleaning the emissions out of an internal combustion engine is probably the most well-known, started in California in the 1970s, and then multitude of industrial uses, including fuel cells, as well as jewelry and investment demand, bars and coins, as well as platinum-backed ETFs.
And also for my audience that may not know, where are some of the main deposits, or where does most of this stuff, where do you go to find it?
It's a great question, Robert. So unusually, over 80% of this metal comes from one small geographic region. So Southern Africa, South Africa and Zimbabwe produce about 72% of global supply, and the balance comes from other deposits as a byproduct, so mainly from a nickel deposit in Russia, and that's a byproduct, and there's a few palladium deposits, one in North America that has a bit of platinum as a byproduct. So primarily, all the on-purpose mined platinum comes from one geographic region in Southern Africa. Quite unusual.
So I mean, is it something that could be speculative in the sense that why aren't more explorers going to try and find platinum in some mining-friendly countries like, Canada, the U.S., Australia? I mean, or it just doesn't exist there?
So good question. I mean, I think the world has been flown aeromagnetically, and there just happens to be only one major deposit. There's probably about 70 years worth at current extraction rates. There's a little bit in the Sichuan province in China, but really very, very low deposits elsewhere in the world. There just seems to be one mother lode, which is quite unusual.
And it really is for what is perceived to be a lot of reasons for its use. I mean, right?
Absolutely. And again, if you look at the price of platinum, which maybe we should come on to, it's been pretty terrible since 2011. And what happened is demand did fall off. There was some weakening of Chinese jewelry demand, but more importantly, the aftermath of Dieselgate in 2015 saw demand for platinum in diesel vehicles in Europe drop off considerably. So you had demand falling and supply falling a little slower, and you had some surpluses that grew up. And in fact, last year we were looking at surpluses of about 600,000 ounces. Our most recent report, we see that down to about 300,000 ounces. And with the demand growth that I've referred to in terms of diesel, fuel cell and palladium replacement in gasoline engines, that could take that surplus to a deficit very quickly. In fact, our latest number is about a 375,000 ounce surplus. Johnson Matthey, who's the largest fabricator that turns platinum into industrial goods, they're forecasting a deficit of 127,000. So it looks like there's a bit of interest, which is probably why the investors got in the first quarter.
And just also for our audience to know, I mean, why would people use platinum as the industrial good, or what's the replacement for it? For why that there's been kind of a change in demand over the years.
Okay, so I think the applications in industrial uses are multiple. For example, if you need more food in the world, you need more fertilizer, you need more nitric acid. You use platinum gauze to make nitric acid. So if the demand for food goes up, the demand for platinum gauze goes up. So if you look at the industrial demand for platinum alone, it's gone up by a compound 4.6% over the last 20 years, which is far greater than industrial demand, industrial growth of global output. So I think the utility of this metal across the applications is really quite high, and its precious value still is the underpin of all of those.
So then also from what you can tell me, what are some of the value catalysts then for this asset class, for platinum, let's say for the rest of 2019?
Okay, so I mean, you're looking at platinum that is at probably the historic discount to itself. It's at a historic discount to gold. For the last 45 years, platinum's always traded at a premium to gold because it kind of makes sense. It's a precious metal with a whole lot of extra benefits that come from its industrial application. That disconnect, I think, is as a result of the loss of demand. And right now you're looking at demand growth. So I think the catalyst really, and no pun intended, is that the turnaround is about demand growth for the first time in 5 years. And we haven't seen this kind of institutional buying in the last 5 years. And typically the institutions that buy this metal to the tune of $700 million tend to take a longer term view and hold that metal for 2 to 3 years. So we think that buying has made the market a lot tighter. And a recognition by more investors that we've been around for 5 years doing this. We think there's a lot more people that are considering it and now realize that there is some demand growth to look forward to, and we think that might reflect in investor interest and price.
And as a reminder for our audience, where did you? What's your background? How did you come into all this?
Sure. Well, it's hard to say, but I spent about 18 years in gold mining, so I understand gold is a precious metal. I've spent about 18 years in platinum. I used to work for Anglo American Platinum in South Africa, mining the metal. I moved to London 10 years ago to promote the metal. And now the World Platinum Investment Council we started 5 years ago to try and give investors better information to make more informed investment decisions.
And Trevor, where can our audience go and find more information about the World Platinum Investment Council?
So there's all the information I mentioned freely available on our website, platinuminvestment.com.
My name is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN.Network. Again, we're at the Sprott Natural Resources Symposium 2019 in Vancouver, BC. With me has been Trevor Raymond from the World Platinum Investment Council. Trevor, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Robert. Great to be here.